narrative was very clear. Because of Islamic culture, because of Arab political culture. First it was because communism was so strong in the Arab world, so it was a Soviet kind of scheme and plotting. Later on it was an Arab and Islamic plotting. But the main reason for the conflict, the systematic dispossession of the Palestinians in 1948, which is the root of the problem, the heart of the problem, was never admitted by any of the peace negotiators who tried to help and solve the Arab-Israeli conflict from 1948 until today. The second implication of the total denial and the quick and rapid denial of the ethnic cleansing of 1948 was that the ideology of ethnic cleansing on which the Jewish state was built, namely this idea that we, and I was born in Israel, that we Israelis suckled from cradle, that we will never have proper, secure life unless Israel will be a pure ethnic Jewish state. That this idea that was implemented in such a brutal way in 1948 is not condemned by the world. It is legitimized in a way by the world. So what would stop the people who uprooted half of Palestine's population in 1948 from continuing uprooting the Palestinians from any part that they would regard it as their Jewish state? Nothing would stop them, in fact. The only thing that stopped the 1967 ethnic cleansing of the West Bank, when Israel, after occupying 80% of Palestine, because of the 6 Days War, could occupy now 100% of Palestine. The only reason the Israelis did not complete the ethnic cleansing of the West Bank and the Gaza Strip was that they were so successful in the war against the Arab world. There's a limit to how many people you can ethnically cleanse in 6 days. In 1948 they had 7 months. But they ethnically cleansed 300,000 people in that war and immediately after that war. And of course, historical circumstances change. The state becomes more democratic in a way, more accepted. The media is more attentive. The Palestinian national movement re-emerges. It's not that easy to repeat the 1948 ethnic cleansing. So you use other means for ethnically cleansing because morally and politically the world does not send a message to the Jewish state. This is not accepted. You have to be more clever about the means you're doing it, but the basic idea is Israel is an unfinished business. And why is Israel an unfinished business? Every Israeli will tell you this. We are a revolution in the making. We are an unfinished project. The reason we are an unfinished project is because 20% of the people of Israel, of the population of Israel, are Palestinian citizens. Because we haven't solved the West Bank problem, and we haven't solved the Gaza Strip problem, and there are still Palestinian refugees that want to return. This is the reason why Israel is still an unfinished project. Namely, the making of a pure ethnic state has not been completed. Now, why is the paradigm of ethnic cleansing so crucial for understanding what goes on today in Palestine? Not just what went on in 1948. I mentioned already 2 points. First is that if you don't recognize the ethnic cleansing ideology as part of Zionism, you don't understand why there is a conflict in Palestine. And most people don't understand it until today. Secondly, if you do not condemn Israel for what it did in 1948, you don't understand that the crime it committed in 1948 is being perpetrated daily against the Palestinians today in October 2006. And with this I would like to end, because the book actually begins with an attempt to find out whether there are clear definitions of ethnic cleansing. And there are. There are very clear legal, political, and moral definitions. The most active people in the 20th century, in the late 20th century, that tried to define the kind of action that Israel did in 1948 and still commits in 2006. The most active people in trying to define what does it mean for the international community if one of its members states is implementing such policies is the State Department of the United States. Quite amazingly. No other outfit in the world has invested so much effort and has employed so many legal experts to find out what does an ethnic cleansing mean. And they have a whole website that deals with it. And if you read the State Department website of how they, first of all, describe an ethnic cleansing, and you take this description and you compare it to what Israel had done in 1948 to the Palestinians, and what Israel is doing to the Palestinians today, you would be amazed how it fits like a hand to a glove, how the general definitions fit the concrete case, first. Secondly, you will find out that the American State Department, as other organizations, by the way, do not hesitate for one moment in how to define legally, morally, and politically ethnic cleansing. It's a crime against humanity. It's a crime against humanity. And one of the most interesting things that the International Court of Justice in The Hague and the American legal experts say, which really ends all the debates about what really happened in 1948, is that it doesn't matter how one ethnic group got rid of another ethnic group. Even if people of one ethnic group felt so frightened that they left, even if they were not physically expelled, they are victims of ethnic cleansing. And what do all the experts say? That the only solution for an ethnic cleansing is the return of those who've been dispossessed to their homeland and homes. Now, of course, the State Department does not apply it to the Palestine case. I won't surprise you there. It applies it to every ethnic cleansing cases it has in history, apart from one case, the case of Palestine. And what my book does is actually modestly calls the State Department to just include another case study in a brilliant way. They analyzed the history of ethnic cleansing, the legal and moral and political implication of ethnic cleansing, and even more importantly, the way they suggest to solve cases where ethnic cleansing took place. And I think if they would apply it to Palestine and Israel, they would not only provide justice for the Palestinians, which is by itself a noble goal. They will not only rectify a historical evil, they will first and foremost stop the present crimes from being committed against the Palestinians in the Greater Jerusalem area, in the West Bank, in the Gaza Strip, inside Israel. And secondly, and no less importantly, they would provide for the first time an infrastructure for safe life for Jews as well as for Palestinians in Israel and in Palestine. So the most important goal of Zionism, to provide a safe haven for Jews, which is a total failure in Israel, to think about it. The only place where Jews have been killed, and more than 40,000 Jews were killed after the Holocaust, was in Israel. So it hardly falls under the definition of a safe haven. So in order to provide a safe haven for Jews, which is also a noble goal, you have to rid the country of Palestine, the state of Israel, from this ideology, which is, in the eyes of the majority of my society, unfortunately, is legitimate from a moral, political, and political point of view. And the moment we will accept in Israel, as a society, that this is wrong, that this is wrong morally, that this is wrong politically, we would face boldly the past, which is, as we saw in South Africa, a precondition for dealing with the present. We will stop our oppressive policies of the present, and we will build a basis for a much better future for all of us who lived and used to live in the land of Palestine.